Mark Patterson died, had an NDE, and returned as a completely different soul, but everyone around him thought that he was the same person. How would you feel if something like this happened to you? I'd love to know in the comments. If you've had a profound spiritual experience that you would like to share on the show, find the link to apply in the description box. You've had spiritual experiences since you were about 4 or 5 years old, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I always knew things about people. In fact, I would know what they were feeling before they did. I always saw the lights, the aura around people. Countless encounters with ETs, UFOs, uh, and beings from other galaxies, other planes as a child, other planets, other dimensional realities as a child. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the X-Files should call me. I'll tell them what's going on.
Amazing. Are you able to share any details of your experiences, like with the ETs or with other dimensions as a child?
I just think that they were always trying to communicate this idea, this concept of love, that you are loved, like they're like, well, I guess I should, some of the beings like the Greys, the Zeta Reticuli, some of the encounters with them were not very pleasant. They were very intrusive. And, they try to limit people of a different vibration or different awareness so they don't break the matrix of fear and control that's on the planet. But there are beings like the Syrians and the Pleiadians. Well, the Syrians really want us to evolve. And then there are these tortoise beings that just had so much love for us. It looked like these really big turtles, and they would just like want to hug you and just, and I think everything is about trying to get people, humans, to realize that, one, we're not alone. There's countless beings out there, but, mainly that it's about love, and it's about the power of love. And that's what we're here to do. We are here to express love. Of course, like if I would, like, you see the UFOs flying down the street, I'd go get my mom, and she could never see them. So.
How did that make you feel as a child that you were the only one who could see them?
Well, sure, when you're seeing all these things and you're seeing lights around people and you have all these experiences, you're told you're crazy, you're making that up, no one believes you, just shut up, don't talk about that. You have no idea what you're saying. So it's very confusing. You learn not to trust yourself. You learn that you feel like you're not wanted. You feel like you don't belong. You feel like you're very misunderstood, and that you feel like you internalize it, and you feel like maybe there's a problem with me. Maybe there is something wrong with me.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you mentioned that your father was he a minister, or he was just involved in the church?
Yeah, I chose a Bible thumper. I'm talking. He
Right.
had that. He had the Bible memorized. He was a Jesus zealot. Definitely a Southern Baptist. I think he always wanted to be a minister. I know that he always wanted me to be a minister. And but he was definitely Jesus, 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 and it was that was the only option. It was just Jesus, or you're going to hell, or whatever. So
Yeah, I can relate, being raised in some pretty strict Christian circles myself, and being told that anything outside of the Christian realm is demonic. And I had a connection to nature as a child where I could communicate with trees specifically, and I shut that down because I was so afraid that I was communicating with demons.
I remember walking on Lower Muscatine Avenue, and I was sitting. It was almost like I was walking in this world, but I'd also see the other worlds of the gnomes and the fairies and the sprites and things like that while you're walking. And so, yeah, I mean, we definitely have parallel lives, parallel realities. This is a multidimensional fractal universe. And so, there are definitely other aspects, other worlds, other realities that exist simultaneously. So, just to continue, you're asking about how did I feel? Well, I just didn't want to feel anymore. I didn't want to see the lights anymore. I didn't want to hear the voices anymore. I didn't want to be told about, you know, so ETs and aliens and have these experiences. And in fact, the only time I ever felt loved, Melissa, is that don't get me wrong, my mom loved me immensely. I knew my dad loved me immensely, but the only time I felt like I really belonged, that I was really wanted, was I used to dream over and over again as a child that I would be inside my bedroom closet. I would dream over and over again at night about my bedroom closet, that I'd be inside my bedroom closet, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger were there, wanting to go to Disneyland. Feeling loved was always inside my bedroom closet. Well, 40 years later, you figure out the meaning of the bedroom closet dream was that everything that you already want is already within the closet of your own heart. So anyway, by the time I was 13, 14 years old, I got into alcohol. And I'm not talking about wine coolers or Michelob Ultra, or Michelob Ultra didn't exist back then, but it wasn't wine coolers or Boone's Farm. I mean, I was doing Everclear, I was doing Jack Daniels, I was doing Jim Beam, really hard alcohol just to shut everything down, because I didn't want to know anymore. I didn't want to feel anymore, because it was at times overwhelming to have this constant bombardment of information that no one else believes in.
I really appreciate the hearing about your dream.
That's gonna be an important factor as we get into my near-death experience and what happened 10 years after my NDE.
Okay.
So just keep that dream in the back of your mind.
Yes. Let's move into your NDE. If you've been feeling disconnected from spirit, disconnected from divine love, I have an offering for you. I now offer one-on-one energy work sessions. It's my very favorite work that I've ever done. I completely rebalance your energy field and give you a transfusion of divine love and healing energy for any specific area of need, and follow it up with feedback on what I find in your energy field, a little bit of spiritual coaching, and simple takeaway practices that you can take into your life and implement to help you cultivate a deep connection with divine love. I offer 30-minute sessions, 45-minute sessions, and I'm currently offering 50% off on my 4-session package. Check the link in the description to sign up. Yes, let's move into your NDE.
One night at a high school party in February of 1986, as a 16-year-old high schooler, at the Canterbury Inn in Coralville, Iowa, I thought I'd be really cool, so I tried to impress all my older classmates and all my friends. So I chugged a fifth of vodka, 4 beers, 2 glasses of wine, and 3 or 4 wine coolers in about 90 minutes. My skin was green, purple, and black. My body went into cardiac arrest from acute alcohol poisoning. So I was passed out unconscious, comatose, dead, whatever you want to call it, on the bathroom floor of the Canterbury Inn. And I was greeted by my grandfather, Russell, who passed away when I was around 3 years old. And he said, Mark, he called me, he always called me Marcus Aurelius. So he said, Marcus Aurelius, you're going home. And so he took me and guided me into the light. And I was greeted by 7 angels. They were 14 feet tall each. And there was a hologram of my life, because this is a holographic universe. And anytime that I was angry, resentful, or blamed other people, and of course, that's all that we ever do when we're teenagers, they asked, how does that relate to love? And everything in life is an opportunity to express love. Everything in life is an opportunity to express love. See, the word forgiveness means for giving your love away. And if you are forgiving, you are for giving your love away, no matter what happens to you. Now, if you're always out for getting the material things, you're getting the Jaguar and Mercedes in the house, and material things are nice, don't get me wrong. But if you're always for getting things, you are forgetting who you really are. And so they went into this great talk. Again, time is distorted, um, about sacred geometry, healing through sound, frequencies. They talked about my life and kind of, things that I would experience. And they talked specifically about the Melchizedek priesthood. The Bible talks about, and Jesus is like Melchizedek, and thou forever shall be a priest of Melchizedek, or the order of Melchizedek. And then Russell, because everything is like simultaneous, Russell basically took Mark that was in my body from conception to 16, and then introduced me to a being that was about 30 feet tall. And this being had a lot of love for me, a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding for me, a lot of understanding about who I was. And in a moment, even though I was unconscious for a long time, dead for a long time, um, that 30-foot being formed an icosahedron, which is a diametric solid, platonic solid, came into my heart center and brought me back to life. So in New Age terms, I'm a walk-in. So I got another a soul that came and took over. And another aspect, it was like an aspect of me in the future that came back through time and space to be here now. Barbara Ann Brennan wrote the book, Hands of Light. And I think it's on page 262, it says, future lifetimes can be placed in the auric field at the beginning of birth and can be taken on at the completion of a lifetime if an individual so chooses. And so, in a sense, I always jokingly say that I evolved 5 lifetimes with the fifth of vodka. Please don't try this at home.
Right.
Leave it only to the professionals, right? You may not get the same results as I did. So, in a sense, so the being came back to time and space to be here now. So, I reincarnated in the same body at some level. It was a different being that came in and took over when I was 16 years old. Now, they talked to me a lot about this, and this is really important for people to understand because, for one thing, the amount of love that is on heaven that they have for us humans, no matter what we do or don't do, no matter how bad we think we've effed everything up, we are loved immensely. There's so much love for us. I mean, and I've been allowed to return to that state a few times in my dream state as a reminder to say, hey, you really are loved, where it puts tears in my eyes. And so you are just loved, and there's no judgment. There is no hell. Hell is a man-made concept. In fact, hell was a village outside of Jerusalem where they would burn garbage. And if you couldn't afford a proper burial, you were placed in a shallow grave where animals could easily, quote, gnaw at the flesh. So heaven is real. And in heaven, there's no religion. There's only God. There's only love. And you are loved no matter what you do. And they talk a lot about this. And because people ask me all the time, well, if there's all this love and God loves us and there's all this compassion, forgiveness, why does life suck? Why is life so hard? It's because your soul wanted to demonstrate the power of love. Your soul wanted to show what love could do. Your soul wanted someone to forgive. Your soul wanted someone to forgive. So, in fact, Psalm 139:16 says, every day of my life, every day, every deed, every action was recorded in your book before a single one had passed. Your life is the way it is because you planned it to be this way. We agreed to all this stuff because we wanted to show what love could do. We wanted to show what the power of forgiveness could do. And of course, we forget all that. We get into blame, anger, rage, jealousy, envy, greed, and we just create the same experiences over and over again until we learn compassion, forgiveness, and non-judgment. But we choose our circumstances, we choose our parents, we choose our life. We tend to incarnate, Melissa, we tend to incarnate with about 30 people, plus or minus. And they're like our soul family. And I've not lived in Iowa, I guess, technically since 1992. But anytime I go back, there's always two or three people that I run into, the same people. Those are part of your soul family. It's like your aunts and uncles, your cousins, the people that you have relationships with, your marriage partners, your spouses. Those are part of your soul family. And we tend to incarnate with the same people over and over and over and over and over again. And because for one thing, it's a trigger. Like you see someone that you've reincarnated with, oh, they help you remember who you are. They help you remember why you're here. And especially if you can't stand them, they're really here to help you remember who you really are. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
That's so interesting to think about that the ones that could push our buttons the most are actually the souls that love us the most.
That's very true. People that, the people that, give us our most challenges are the ones that really love us because they're wanting us to grow, because you're here to grow. The word evolve is the only word in the English dictionary that has the word love in it. And so that's, we are here to evolve. And that's what, I mean, we're going through a tremendous amount of evolving on the planet right now. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing about your NDE. I have so many questions. You said that the version of you that's here now is a future version of the original soul that was in your body. So do you contain all of the original soul's experiences and memories?
Yeah. So for real, the first few days after my NDE, I was very confused. Everyone was about this tall to me. I had no idea where I was at. I had no idea who I was. I just kept hearing the angels tell me, "You're going to be okay. You're 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 safe. You're going to be okay." And then on the fourth or fifth day, everything came back that I'm Mark. I'm a sophomore at Iowa City West High. I'm 16 years old. That's my mom. This is my family. And people have asked me over the years, well, was there a difference? Well, the walk-in made me more psychic. I did not need to be any more psychic. And it made me more psychic, more intuitive. In fact, shortly after my NDE, we were up in Door County, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, with a childhood friend, and we were playing baseball in an all regional tournament in Iowa, and we went up to Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, one of the most beautiful places in America, and I was with the family. And one morning, I went to Peter's mom and said, "Look, you have to call your daughter right now and tell her not to come up. She can't be here." And they thought I was crazy. And again, later that night, I went to Peter's mother and I said, "Look, you have to call your daughter now and tell her not to come up. She can't be here." And she's like, "Mark, I know that we've been arguing and we normally don't do that. Maybe you're scared about that." I go, No, she cannot be here." Next morning, same thing. I went to Peter's mom. "Your daughter cannot be here." Well, they got pretty upset with me, so they sent me home on a Greyhound bus the next morning because they thought I was weird or strange or whatever. Unfortunately, their daughter was killed in a car accident on the way up to Wisconsin. And so I was like, all right, I did what you told me to do, and someone's dead now. So this is BS. I don't want to do this again. So I didn't drink alcohol, but my God, I think I smoked marijuana, Thai stick, sensimillion, hashish. I mean, something every day, just, not to feel. So around the age of, I want to say 18, so that was 16. Around the age of 18, another childhood friend of mine, Toby, his mom introduced me to Dick Sutphin. Dick Sepin wrote the book "You Were Born to Be Together." It sold like 7 million copies about uh, soulmates and reincarnation. I went and saw Dick Sepin many, many times, and he eventually moved to Sedona many years later, where I was living, and we'd get together and have lunch and things like that. He was a big influence in my life. He's how I learned past life regression from, how to do it. He's the one that trained Brian Weiss, who brought past life regression to everyone on the planet. And she introduced me to Jerry Bowman and Joe Albiani. Jerry Bowman was a Vietnam vet. He was a trans channel, and Joe Albiani was his assistant, who was an attorney out of Boston. And Jerry Bowman was a trans channel, and he would channel John the Apostle, or John from the Bible. And many people have not heard of Jerry Bowman or Joe Albiani, but they've heard of Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine's channel was Kevin Ryerson, and Kevin Ryerson also channeled John. Well, I would listen to Jerry channel John, and Melissa, the next thing I know, John, who I'm hearing speak through Jerry, is now speaking to me, like you and I are talking now. And John would say things like, "We never use the truth to be right. We never use the truth to make others wrong. We never use the truth to score points for ego." He would say, "A master is not a master because he himself says so. A master is called master because those who witness him say that he's master. The king of God is within you. Why do you seek anything else?" And he would always say, "Do you really want to experience your life as anything less than the one that we'd call Jesus?" And yeah, I mean, that's a heavy statement when you're 18 years old, because when you're 18, 19 years old, there's too many blondes, there's too many brunettes, there's Nature Boy Ric Flair, and there's Iowa Hawkeye football, and 30 some years later, you go, maybe I should have paid attention just a little bit more. But I will say that John has spoken to me again in the last, and he seems to, have come back into my energy field anyway, to continue this exchange. And so I received a lot of information, basically from 18 to 25. John gave me a lot of information. And so we go to around the ages of, so that I would say in 1992, I moved to Charleston. This is really important, and we're going to get to my childhood dream here in just a second. Okay. So in 1992, I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, and I worked at 82 Queen. 82 Queen's a restaurant. It has 11 or 12 dining rooms. It's 12,000 square feet. It's still there, as a matter of fact. And at the time, I was watching these videotapes called The Flower of Life with Drunvalo Melchizedek. And I read the book. I was reading the book, Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak, which is about, this is the Matrix. The gray ETs have influenced our government, and there's all this stuff going on that parallel realities, time travel, all this stuff is real. And The Flower of Life is about sacred geometry. The Flower of Life videotapes are everything that I was talked about in my NDE, right? So this guy comes into our restaurant for 5 nights in a row. And every night, Melissa, he ends up in my section, which is with 11, 12 different sections, several dining rooms. Impossible. It is impossible for that to happen. He ends up in my section every night for 5 nights in a row. The last night he's there, this female angel comes to me, and I can see her, and she's talking to me, and she goes, "We need you to talk to him about the videotapes you're watching right now." Melissa, we have an hour and a half wait. I am running 7 tables. I am buried. I am in the weeds. And I'm like, no. Ha! No. So Melissa, I go to leave the table to put his order in. I get physically pushed back by an unseen force in front of the table. And they're like, "We really need you to do this." So I'm thinking, Melissa, what am I going to ask this guy? What do I say to him? And so I go, his name was Roger. I go, "Roger, hey, are you a mathematics professor?" He looks at me and goes, "Mark, what did you really want to ask me?"
Oh,
And right, yeah. I go, "Well, I have these videotapes I'm watching, they're about the Sphinx, the pyramids, this thing called the Flower of Life. He goes, you have those videotapes? I have to have those videotapes. And well, they're not mine, but I'll call Rosemary the next day. I'll see if I can give them to you. Call Rosemary the next morning. I said, hey, this guy's adamant. He's got to have these tapes. I've watched them. Are you okay if I give them to him? She's like, sure, yeah, I guess I don't care. I meet Roger and his son Sean the next day, give him the videotapes. 3 months pass. I don't hear anything about him. Don't hear anything from him. I go to work, pretty warm out, hot. It's like August or whatever, hot, Charleston. Female angel comes back to me. Mark, we need you to go to your manager right now and tell her that you have to go home. Like, I'm supposed to work today. I'm here to work. They're like, it'll be okay. Just tell her you have to go home. Hey, Missy, Melissa, are you okay if I go home? I guess I'm not feeling well. She goes, I guess we were going to probably send someone anyway. Female angel comes back to me. Mark, please go directly to your house. Please do not stop anywhere on the way. So, Melissa, I get to my place, which is a 25-minute walk from where I was living at the time. As I open the door, the phone is ringing. It's Roger calling me from France, the guy that I gave the videotapes to. He says, how would you like to work with Drunvalo Melchizedek in person? I'm like, yes, And I said, where? He says, in fact, it was up to where I'm kind of living now in Cobecrest, North Carolina, up here in the Smoky Mountains. I said, hey, yeah, sure. I'd love, what do I need to do? How much does it cost? Where's it at? He says, everything's been paid for. Thank you for the videotapes. So I got to spend, back then it was 10 days, 10, 12-hour days, 14-hour days with Drunvalo, and I learned all the Flower of Life stuff and just validated everything that I was talked about in my NDE. Now, at the time, Melissa, I only told 2 people what happened to me that night. That was the girl I was dating in Charleston, South Carolina at the time, Kirsten, and my best friend in Iowa, Dean Jacobs. They were the only 2 people that I knew about what happened to me. I didn't tell anyone. In fact, recently there was a program on the History Channel. They interviewed 10 women that had NDEs, 10 guys that had NDEs. All the women told everyone about the NDE immediately. All 10 guys waited 10 years before they said anything about it, right? So this was 1995. I'm in Iowa for the summer. I'm getting ready to go back to Charleston, South Carolina. I get a phone call at 1:30 in the morning from a woman I never met, never spoke with before. I don't know how she got my number. She describes verbatim my NDE. What they told me, that there was a 30-foot being that came back through time and space and entered my body. She called me a walk-in. And then Melissa, then she goes, and when you were a child, you used to have this dream about your bedroom closet that you would go into, and that's where you felt loved, and that's where you felt like you belonged. No one knew about that dream. She did. And so people ask me over the years, was she a real person? Yes, we in fact met. And but anyway, so I tell her, wow, that's great information. Wow, that's awesome. We did connect. And I go, well, I'm just getting ready. I'm getting ready. I just called Harvey at 82 Queen. Everything's set back. I'm going to go back to work there. And she goes, well, there's one more thing I need to tell you. You're not going back to Charleston. You're going to go to Las Cruces, New Mexico. You have to go to undergraduate and graduate school there. Like, I don't know anything about Las Cruces now. Why I'm going back to Charleston. I love Charleston. I still love Charleston. No, she's like, no, you're going to Las Cruces. No, I'm good. I'm going back to Charleston. Melissa, the next day, I get a phone call from Luis Vasquez, who's a mentor of mine when I was growing up, saying, I don't know, I don't know, I haven't heard from him in years. How do you get my number? Hey, Mark, what are you up to? Oh, I'm just getting ready to go back to Charleston. He goes, well, I just took a job as the associate head of psychology department at New Mexico State University in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I think you probably should go to school here. If you need help, I can get you in.
Wow.
I'm like, are you kidding me? So yeah, I ended up going to undergraduate and graduate school in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Is probably the worst. From a physical point of view, it was probably the worst 6 years of my life, but it was from a growth, the growth was phenomenal. And so, there are always guides and teachers, and there's always, we're never alone. Our angels and guides are always with us. And it's, like Wayne Dyer always said, our life was never meant to be a struggle, but we struggle with who we really are. And that's what produces, or we resist, I guess, like in Abraham Hicks, we resist who we really are. And that's what creates the fiction. I know I've rambled on and I can ramble on forever, but um, those are real experiences, and we are meant to be guided. We are meant to be too tapped into that higher dimensional realities. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing about your experience. It's absolutely incredible. I'm curious, you don't have to share this if it's not relevant or if it's private, but what was it that they wanted you to go to school for?
Um, well, my challenge or my opportunity is from the time I was in eighth grade till the time I was teaching. They had me teach classes when I was a sophomore at NMSU. Mark, you're the smartest kid here, but you don't care. From an energetic point of view, they felt that the teachers and professors there would be more compassionate and understanding of how I operate. Because I would tell, I would, when they had me teach a couple of classes in psychology, I said, y'all realize that you're being trained to memorize here. And that's all you're learning is how to memorize. And then when you get up to masters and, PhD level, you're learning how to label other people. And this is our educational system. We learn how to memorize and label people.
Yeah, definitely. It's big challenge in the public school system currently.
Right, and it was probably it was most challenging 6 years of my life, but
Mm.
I also got to do. I met some amazing people. In fact, people that are still involved in my life to this day. I got to do radio. I had my own radio show. I love doing radio, and I did some improv, and I did a lot of I did a lot of hypnosis shows, you know, back then as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all bad, but definitely it was about in the desert. There's nowhere to hide, and the desert only produces shadows. And if you look at Native American tribes, the Mescalero and Apache lived in that part of the country, the Las Cruces, New Mexico, Texas, El Paso area, and they were the toughest of the toughest. They were tough amigos, no doubt about it. They were tough. Dries you up.
Absolutely. Going back to your NDE, I heard you say in another interview that you remembered what your soul was doing before you came in as a walk-in. Is that something that you can share?
I remember that being moving huge blocks and pushing blocks and going through to open up doorways, to open up timelines, and that being was involved or is involved in timelines or is a gatekeeper of dimensional realities. So yeah, I I remember that. Yes, absolutely.
What did it feel like to come into the body from being a 30-foot tall? Well, what kind of a being were you, like an extraterrestrial of some kind?
Galactic. I guess galactic would be the best way to
Yeah,
describe it. Shocking because
yeah.
because again, like I said, for 3 or 4 days, everyone was like this big to me, and I had no idea where I was at. I didn't know who I was. There was just this voice, and everything was blurry. You know, uh, everything was blurry, but just the voice saying you're going to be okay. It was like the fourth or fifth day that everything fell into place, and I knew who I was, and I knew what my role was, and I knew that was my mom, and this is my family. And I was a sophomore at West High in Iowa City, Iowa.
Right.
I guess shocking is the best word that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Like, what the what the
It's a shock to the system, that's for
shock to
sure.
the system, right? Yeah. Where's all that love at? What happened? Where's my bliss at?
Right.
Well, our soul wants to be of service to humanity. I think that gets clouded and distorted along the way because our ego and our own desires and things like that, which is all a part of being human. I, you know, I did a talk the other night here. I do the scalar stuff, the scalar bioenergy stuff, which is really powerful. And I know a lot of times we go, this is an illusion. It's not real. It is so important for to, to have a body. I mean, scientists just came out and said there's a 1 in 400 trillion chance that you're a human right now. And it's my understanding there are beings that are lined up all over galaxies, all over the place that want to be on Earth right here, right now. Because if we get this right, if we awaken and evolve, it'll be like a domino effect, and thousands and thousands and thousands of galaxies throughout all the universe will also awaken at the same time. And it starts here. So we're like the ignition go. We're like the rocket booster. We're the launching pad of this shift in consciousness that's unfolding, and it is unfolding. Yeah.
It's so interesting how from the other side, souls are lining up to come in. But then on this side, everybody's talking about this is my last reincarnation. I'm never coming back here.
I wouldn't be so sure about
Right.
that. Not so fast, my friend. Is you know, I don't know. It's hard to say because because like when we come here, the soul is like, yeah, so you're like a big cheerleader, you know, and then you get here and you're like the football player that's played for 20 years and has taken all that beating, and you're like, oh God, I got to retire.
Right. I love that analogy. In your NDE, you learned about sound healing and sacred geometry, correct? I would love to hear more about what you were shown.
Right. So basically, everything in the universe is frequency. Everything is based on frequency, and everything in the universe is based on geometry. And when you combine sound and geometry, you create healing in the body. I think his name, he just passed away recently unexpectedly. In fact, his office was about 2 blocks from where I live. Richard Gilbert, Dr. Richard Gilbert, who did the sacred geometry sacred geometry uh, things on Gaia TV. I think he just passed away a few months ago unexpectedly. Um, he said and they talked to me about this. And then again, I remember when I was like 19 years old, and I went to Sedona, Arizona for the first time. I was shown that when you visualize geometry patterns around the body, like the big triangle, and Dr. Richard Gere talks about this too as well, that is really what connects you into the higher dimensional realities. Like if you visualize the flower of life symbol, if you visualize an icosahedron, or what the thing that they have told me more to do recently is to put Metatron's cube or the tree of life symbol out of the Kabbalah, mystic Kabbalah, right? You put it in the center point, and it actually lines up with the chakra centers of the body, and then what you do is you get into sound, and then you add sound to it, and that creates like you toning, like I do vocal toning. That is what creates the vibration of higher consciousness, of accessing higher dimensional realities, of what the ancient Egyptians called the net. And Jesus said, cast your net to the right. The right meaning the right hemisphere of your brain, the right hemisphere of your consciousness is where your creativity and your intuition exists. But that's how you connect into the ethers, and that is by visualizing geometric forms and patterns around the body. And then you get into the sounds to make that geometric pattern alive and vibrate. So I mean, it's just from my NDE to angels talking to me when I was like 19, 20 years old, to being reinforced again, and with watching Dr. Gilbert stuff. And all this information has been around forever.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
You said something in another interview that I just thought was fascinating. I love nature. I could be in nature all day long, and part of the reason for that is the sounds are so grounding to my nervous system. And the statement that you made is you said that birds are singing life into the planet and crickets are closing everything down.
so sure, let's get into sound, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So of course, in the Judeo-Christian Bible, in the beginning was the word, in the beginning was the sound, right? The sound of God. The Hopi and Anastasi tell stories that the elders would sing crops, or they would sing to crops producing kernels of corn the size of most men's thumbs. James Redfield in the Celestine Prophecy talks about singing to plants to make them grow. Greg Braden talks about Chinese Qigong healers using sound and energy to dissolve golf ball sized tumors um, in minutes. And it's on a live sonogram. And then modern medical doctors use sound waves and sound frequencies to break up gallstones and kidney stones. So there's a man in Wisconsin. His name is Dan Carlson. His website is sonic-bloom.org. And his wife had some type of like cancer, breast cancer, or she had a tumor. And back then was this thing called Rife, created by Royce Rife. And the idea is that if you have a frequency, this is kind of what scalar technology is based on. You have a frequency that matches the tumor, right? The right pitch, the right frequency, the tumor breaks up. We sopranos, alto sopranos can break glasses, shattered glasses with their voice. So a tumor is a dense vibration, sound wave, high frequency, breaks it up. No damage done to their cells in the body. So he found that this was the thing that worked for his wife, was the Rife Technologies. Well, if you go into Hans Jen's work, cymatics, he found that when you ran sound waves, sound frequencies through anything in nature, it produced a very specific geometric pattern. Like dogs have a geometric pattern, butterflies have a geometric pattern, flowers have a geometric pattern. It represents their grid of consciousness. These geometric patterns represent their grid of consciousness. So Dan started playing around with the sound and frequencies. Well, he found that when he ran a 5,000 hertz frequency into the fields, it produced a 400% greater yield in the crops. Not 40%, but 400%. So when he ran a 5,000 hertz frequencies into the crops, it produced a 400% greater yield. Well, he kept, his inquiring mind just want to know. So he started measuring things out in nature. Well, Melissa, he found that when birds chirp in the morning, they are chirping at 5,000 hertz. They're literally singing life into the planet when they're causing things to grow. And then when crickets chirp, it's 2,000 cycles per second, 2,000 hertz per second, literally close everything down at night. So everything is based on resonance frequencies and harmonics, and well, the forest, look at the word forest, for rest. That's what you go into the forest to, recharge yourself. The Native Americans, the reason why we're sick is because we wear shoes. You got to put your feet on the ground. You got to put your feet in the grass. It gives you all the negative ions that regenerate your body, regenerate your cell. Get a grounding net. I highly recommend grounding nets. I mean, I think they're on Amazon for $40 to $60, not too expensive. They will change your life dramatically in a good way. Put your negative ions into your body, alkalize the body, re-stimulate the body, regenerate the body. Your body's meant to regenerate itself. It really is. Your body's meant to heal itself.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's absolutely fascinating to me. Now, you are an internationally acclaimed sound healer, and I would love to hear more about your work.
So sure. Going back to the phone call that I got in 95 or 96, and I'll just say her name was Deb. And she said that you have this amazing gift with sound that you really don't understand. And then, kind of a little bit before that, I was down in Charleston at Unity Church on Leeds Avenue. It's still there. It's in a different building, but it's still on Leeds Avenue. We were doing a Reiki circle group, and we were playing around with sounds, and like kind of like the who sound, who. The who sound is the sound of the owl. Owls are the wisdom keepers of the planet, but the who sound is what opens your heart. Well, shortly after that phone call, it'll cut out. And I have a like a $200 Sennheiser microphone. I've got this mixer, and I cannot get the sound to sound right coming through the waves. I have all this technology, right? So, so pure tone comes through 396 hertz, A sharp. That tone comes through me, and it's almost like I leave my body. There's the Hathors go over to Egypt. I've been to Egypt a few times. They have the big ears. They look like big elves. They're the goddess of joy, love, and music. So they come through. Tone comes through, and Melissa, we've seen over and over again that tone is so pure that people just let. I remember the first time we presented was August 17th, 1997, at the Mastering Life Center in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It's a religious science church. And I started going into the tones. And after about 10, 15 minutes, I just hear this voice say, open your eyes. And there's about 200 people in the audience, and half of the people are they're out, like a hypnotist goes to sleep. Because you so focus on that sound that you just let go of everything else. So we know that, and it really doesn't matter, Melissa, if there's 5 people or 500. I've had 500 people in front of me, and that sound will go to each individual person's greatest point of pain. Person A might have pain in their back. Person B might have pain in their lower hip. Person C might have pain in their shoulder, on and on and on. Doesn't matter. That sound has its own consciousness. It'll go to each individual person's greatest point of pain, and it'll break up and dissolve it. And then the reason why people have a hard time sleeping at night is because we carry all this stuff in our energy field. We carry the emotions, the traumas, all that stuff, and we go to sleep at night, and that stuff is still active. What that tone does is it clears the energy field out so you can let go and relax. Now, I lived in Sedona, Arizona for almost 15 years. There was a company called Brain States. They used a $40,000 software program. They analyzed my voice, they analyzed my tones that come through me, both live and also on CD. And they showed that my tone will balance individuals' beta, theta, delta, and alpha waves to the most optimal ratios that they can relieve depression, insomnia, and have a better overall well-being in life. So, and I mean, just like I presented it the other night at Scalar Wellness here in Asheville. And the thing that people talk about is how they feel it. I mean, you can really feel it move through your body. And even though I'm doing one tone, many people will say they'll hear one tone here and one tone here, and it seems like they just start, oscillating back and forth. So it's pretty phenomenal. But Edgar Casey, the famous psychic, said he said that sounds would be the human modality of the future. And, we believe that time is now. It's here.
Two questions. If
Sure.
someone wants to learn more about sound healing in general, what would you recommend? And then I'd also love for you to share where people can find you and work with you if they're interested.
Sure. So just from my experience, Jonathan Goldman has the most information out there about sound healing and sound therapy. I presented with Jonathan Goldman a couple times. His information is phenomenal. If you really want to research sound healing and sound therapy, look up Jonathan Goldman. He probably has the most information out there. Um, it's okay if I just tell one story because this is a really important story.
Please. Yeah.
All right. So um, in 2009, I presented at the East West Bookstore in Mountain View, California, which is just outside of San Francisco. Everyone from Michael Beckwith, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, they've all spoken out at the East West Bookstore. And we had a standing room only crowd. And in fact, we had to add an extra day to do sessions because I had a high demand for it. Now, I had this woman, she had an autistic son, extremely autistic. He wore a mask to separate himself from society, do anything to do with society. And she got in her mind that I was going to save her son or fix her son or whatever. And so, she made an appointment with me, and the day came for the appointment. She would try to bring him back to the room where I was at, and he kept clinging on to her for dear life. Just would not let go of her, didn't want anything to do with coming back there, and just terrified. Finally, we get him back there, get him on the chair, he's mask on. She's like, look, I need you to fix my son. I go, I'm not here to do that. And she was like really upset. And like, I'm not here to do that. I'm glad to work with him, see what happens. Because a week prior to this experience, Melissa, Abraham Hicks came to me in a dream and said, if you really want to help this autistic boy, you have to become still with him. So I finally looked at her and go, look, I'll tell you what, just go get your money back. Just, just, and she's just, I'm just like, chill out. So he's still sitting there, right? Mad, grumpy, mask on. So I take a deep breath and I get real quiet and still. I just tell the mom, just go over there, sit down. I get real quiet and still. And there must have been a lot of guides and angels around me because I got to a really Zen state quickly, like that. The angel comes to me after a few minutes and says, open your eyes. So I open my eyes. The boy pulls his mask off. Tears are streaming down his face. He says, I've been waiting for you. He starts talking to me for 30 minutes as if we were best friends. His mom is in disbelief. She's just in total shock. And she's like, how did you do that? I said, well, one, that's what you asked me to do. Two, I created a field of unconditional acceptance. As long as you keep telling him, why aren't you normal? Why don't you talk? Why don't you interact with people? He's going to stay in that mess. He's going to stay away from society. Because you will find that most autistic children are very content with who they are. Most normal kids are too busy on social media, too busy comparing themselves, busy comparing themselves to the latest trends or how much they got to spend on their Gucci bag or whatever it may be. And they feel real crappy about themselves because of these such unrealistic BS expectations that we put on kids today. And so it is so important that to realize that these autistic children are on the planet because they're here to teach us to be. That's what they are doing. They are being. They're being exactly who they need to be. Dara Anka, who channels Bashar, says that this is the most powerful mantra you can say to yourself. I am who I am, and that is enough. I'm going to say that again. I am who I am, and that is enough. Make that your mantra. No one benefits from you playing small. No one benefits from you hiding who you really are. No one benefits from you denying who you really are. No one benefits from you always being broke. No one benefits from you dismissing your own power. No one. So for those of you that are interested in me, I've done past life regression for over 30 years. Lots of breakthroughs the last few years. It's an amazing technique. I am at mark-patterson.com. That's mark-patterson.com. I'm here to help people. I also do intuitive counseling. I love helping people. I love working with people. And we just have so many amazing stories and amazing results. So please feel to reach out to me. And Melissa, have I covered what needs to be covered? You know, do we get there? Are we there yet? So,
Yes, that was absolutely fantastic. I want to thank you so, so much for being willing to share your story. And my final question that I ask all of my guests is if you had one message for everyone on the planet, what would it be?
that you are it, you are God, that you are source energy, that God, whatever you think God is within you right now, today, right here. You don't have to die in order to experience it. Remember, when you remember who you really are, the chaos and destruction of the world will no longer apply to you.
Thank you so much for watching. My guests' links can be found in the description box. If you have had a near-death experience, pre-birth experience, out-of-body experience, past or between life memories, or spiritual awakening story that you would like to share, find the link to apply in the description box. If you would like to support the channel, we have a few fun ways that you can do that. I do have a merch store linked in the description. We've put some of the phrases on t-shirts that you guys requested. I have affiliate links to my favorite blue blockers, my favorite red light panel, and a couple of other companies that I work with. You can join my membership, The Sanctuary. You can sign up for an energy healing. I also offer a 4-session energy healing package. You'll find all these links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Now go live your most extravagantly loving life.